is Lisa Nelson, host of Fuel Your Finish podcast, and I am so excited that we are starting a whole new year, and I want us to get excited about that today. I am not one to really get into New Year's resolutions because I love sustainability and habits that last and that we can sustain. And that is so important to me in the way that I live my life and the way that I coach others. I don't like extremes, but I like things to be sustainable. Sometimes we need some extremes to get us going, and so the new year can be good for that. But whether you're a New Year's resolution kind of person or whether you are more of a sustainability kind of person, I think this is going to be really helpful and really motivational for you. And so where I want to start off is that the new year is a very exciting time to renew your commitment to health and to good habits and just being the best version of ourselves. So, and I want to remind you, health is more than physical. It's more than, our nutrition and our fitness, though that is a huge part of it, and that's where I focus, but it's also our mental and emotional, our relationships, our career, and how all of our habits can absolutely work together. So for the purposes of this, we're definitely going to focus more on nutrition and fitness and physical health, but I want you to just kind of be mindful of how all of your habits kind of work together for your physical well-being. Okay. So I want you to envision something you have been working on, okay? Maybe it's a habit that you've been trying to change or a new routine you've been trying to implement. Maybe it's some part of like bringing yourself to the next level, even, in your health and fitness or even in your career or your relationships. And I want you to think about that thing. Okay, so maybe it's eating better, maybe it's drinking more water, maybe it's hitting the gym more regularly to help with your running, or maybe it's to build like a stronger foundation so you can age better. Maybe you have been working on going to bed earlier, and I want you to envision that goal, and whether it's to get stronger, look better, be more independent, live a longer life, whatever that is, if it's making more money, maybe you need to get organized so you can bring in more money in your business or your work, okay? Now, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to really envision this outcome that you want, okay? Not if you're driving or walking or cycling, but you get the idea, okay? And I want you to think about, how are you feeling 3 months from now when you have hit this goal, okay? Are you just all of a sudden having really great energy? Are you starting to be stronger? Are you fitting in your clothes better? Are you having more energy because you're fueling your body better? Because you're going to bed earlier? Are you producing more at work? Are you getting to the next level in your career because you're implementing some organizational habits? Whatever it is, I want you to think about that, and I want you to think about that outcome and how you are going to feel. Maybe it's you're buying new clothes because you're finally losing some weight. Maybe you're finally hitting that running PR because you're fueling a little bit better, you're training a little bit more consistently, you're getting your strength training in. You ate right, you fueled your runs appropriately, and now, it's all paying off, okay? Maybe you finally lost that 5, 10, 20 pounds. You're at your goal, or you're halfway or a quarter of the way to your goal. Now, what are you doing to celebrate? Okay, we sometimes get so focused on wanting to keep going, and I want you to set a goal to also celebrate when you get to that goal, whatever portion of the goal you're at. So if you've lost a quarter of the weight you need to, if you have hit that first PR, if you have successfully implemented a new habit like going to bed on time and it is like starting to pay off in your life, I want you to kind of envision what that feels like and where you're going to be. And I want you to think about how you could celebrate that, okay? Dinner with your spouse or partner. Maybe it's a new outfit because you finally lost the weight. Maybe it's a new swimsuit. Maybe you've been so productive and maybe your habit that you were working on was not scrolling on social media so much so that you could be more productive at work. And maybe now, because you've been working so hard, you deserve some rest, so you're planning a beach vacation. Whatever it is, I want you to put this goal on your calendar, because I want you to set a time when you're going to meet your goal, when you're going to say, I've successfully done this, okay? Now, I want you to get out a pen and paper or get out your voice notes and number it 1 through 3. And I want to know, what are the 1 to 3 habits that you need to start or stop right now that you will help you get to the end goal? Okay, so we talked a lot about habits. Okay, so maybe the habit is sleep. Maybe the habit is exercise. Maybe the habit is not scrolling as much on social media. And then what is the outcome that you want from that? So, maybe your outcome was, again, losing that weight. Maybe your outcome was hitting that PR. Maybe your outcome is just being stronger. Maybe your outcome is reaching a new level of productivity at work. So I want you to, number 1 through 3, what are the habits that are going to help you get there? Okay. What are those things that if you started them or stopped them right now, it would bring you closer to where you want to be? So, and then the next thing that I want you to do is that once you have those habits, okay, I want you to ask yourself, why have you been putting off those habits? Maybe it's, again, going to bed early. And I want you to be really honest with yourself. Do you look forward to your snack or your drink at night on the couch? I know I do. Do you feel like you need more time to relax at night so that going to bed early is just really hard? I know I struggle with that, and a lot of my clients. Do you maybe feel like you don't have time to prep healthy food? Okay, if you're honest with yourself, there's either a barrier or a belief that's standing in the way. Maybe it's both. Okay, so if the barrier is actually time, like maybe it's you do deserve to relax at the end of the night. Okay, and so maybe it's working backwards to figure out how can you make time to relax at the end of the night. Maybe it's putting the kids in bed by a certain time or finishing your work by a certain time and then saving the rest for tomorrow, because sometimes it's just saying, okay, I'm not going to get all of this done, but I do need to rest and I do need to relax, and remembering to give yourself what you need, because that's part of the, developing that good sleep habit is going to be important for you to actually take care of yourself and get that mental rest that maybe you need before you go to bed. Okay. And so maybe it's also that prepping healthy food is a really hard thing for you to get around. And so maybe the thing is that prepping healthy food is just really hard for you to find time to do that. So if that's the struggle, think about ways that you can maybe get pre-prepped food for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, at Trader Joe's, or, get some delivered pre-made options that are healthy. If that's the thing standing in the way of you hitting your goals, then you need to start to think outside of the box, because that barrier is probably not going to go away. Are you tired of stressing out over what to eat during the week? Well, so many of my clients have the same problem, and I know I do. So I created this full week full of meal plans. It includes grocery lists, meal prep guides, as well as nutrition information. So it's a great place to start if you're not sure where to start with what to eat. So jump over to the link in the show notes and join hundreds of other people who are already on their way to transformation. Or, maybe conversely, if you're able to manage your time a little bit better and not scroll as much, maybe you do have time to prep food or to exercise. I don't know, only you know that. But I do know that we waste a lot of time scrolling. It could be between 30 and 60 minutes a day based on studies that have been done for the average person. That's a lot. So if that's part of your relaxed time at the end of the day, that's one thing. But if we're eating that time up regularly throughout the day, that really adds up and decreases our ability to meet our goals. Okay, and then the other thing with scrolling or getting distracted, sometimes we feel like it's easier to do that than to accomplish our goal or to focus on that good habit. And so we have to pay attention to that too, because that's kind of a way of escaping or taking a break. And so instead of doing that, maybe plan for yourself certain times where you will do that, or something that actually rests you more, whether it's reading a book or meditating. Okay. And so whatever these things are, I want you to write them down, put those in your head, make a note, and then I want you to find a way to replace, either the bad habits or to start the good habit. Okay, so if you're trying to go to bed early, then, think about working backwards. If you're trying to stop and making that time to get your stuff done so you can relax and then go to bed. Okay. Now, if your issue is maybe snacking during the day, then I want you to think about something you could replace that with. Maybe it's taking a walk, or taking a walk around the office, or a walk around the block if you work from home. Maybe it's calling a friend or texting a friend. Maybe it's stretching or doing doing yoga at night instead of over snacking. And remember, we can take this too far as well, because we do actually need, a certain amount of energy throughout the day. So also remember to plan mindful snacks so that you're not just doing it out of a habit, but because it's what your body needs. So I want you to kind of look at these things daily and commit to at least one habit you're going to work on, okay? And again, I do want to caution you against restricting yourself or pushing too hard, because on one hand, yes, we absolutely need to push ourselves and have motivation, but people who have success in reaching their goals, they are doing that. We tend to think of people who are really successful either in their fitness or their careers. We think of them as just these really motivated people. But the truth is, they don't just necessarily wake up every day motivated. They're creating that from within. And so we have to teach ourselves to create that from within. And so sometimes we have the motivation before the action, and sometimes we don't have the motivation until after the action. So I know that I've seen that at work in my own life. Sometimes I just have all the motivation in the world, but right now it's cold out, so I don't want to go for my run. But I'm going to do it anyway, and that's going to help create the motivation to make it happen, because part of that's just that it's a habit, and also I know that I'm not going to accomplish my goal if I don't do it. But it's just important for us to remember that sometimes we aren't going to want to do it and we need to do it anyway, but then it's balancing that, because sometimes we do make the goal too strict or we do make the bar too high. So be honest with yourself about what's a reasonable goal that you can actually achieve, and what are you willing to step up and push yourself in, and what do you maybe need to be realistic about, if that makes sense. We want consistency more than extremes, because consistency is what gets us results, okay? As a registered dietitian, I've been doing this for over 15 years, helping people with their nutrition, training people physically, and doing it for myself for about 20 years. And really, it's the consistency. I know I've told you this story before, but I started with a commitment to just run 30 minutes 4 times a week. I didn't even like running at the time. You can listen to some of my past episodes to hear that story, but it's just setting a small sustainable goal, and before you know it, it'll be a habit and it'll be part of who you are. So it's just pushing through that and being realistic with what actually fits into your life. And, as another example, if you think of if you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. 7 days a week to go to the gym, you might do that for 2 weeks and then totally burn out. But maybe telling yourself, okay, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. 3 days a week, if that's really what time you have to get up to make that happen, then maybe you throw in an extra workout on the weekend and then you're winning. So just kind of be more realistic about your goals, and you can always add on to it later. And if you could use help with your nutrition and fitness in particular, I do offer multiple levels of coaching, so just reach out. And just remember not to be too restrictive, and finding that balance between not too restrictive, not too lenient, and you can absolutely do it, okay? This year can be your healthiest year ever. I know that it can. And it just starts with a small commitment to yourself and to focusing on, even just one habit that you want to improve. So if this was helpful for you, please share this with a friend. Please share this with a loved one, because we all need to get healthier, and I know you want your friends and family to live longer. So share it if you think it would benefit them, and have a happy new year.